Now that I've covered the absolute basics in order to get you started, I thought that I'd move on to slightly more advanced subjects. I want to start with the subject of adjustment events and adjustment tracks. Adjustment events are fairly new to the Vegas Pro toolset and can prove very useful in certain situations. I'll state which versions support these tools at the appropriate time. If you're new to Vegas Pro and are unsure where to start, I suggest you watch my tutorials 127 to 130 inclusive. As I've mentioned in other tutorials, any media item placed on the timeline is referred to as an event. Adjustment events, though, are not media events as such. They are a special type of event whose sole purpose is to affect, in some way, any event or events on video tracks beneath it. Adjustment events were introduced in version 21. Let's start with a simple example. Say I want to apply a black and white effect to part of this project. I could, of course, apply it as a track effect, then keyframe it to be active on the part of the project that I wanted black and white. Then I'd have to put in extra keyframes to fade the effect in and out. I could also split the project in two places where I wanted the black and white section to be, and apply the effect to those sections. But in this case it wouldn't be easy if I wanted it to fade in and out. In both those cases, that's quite a bit of work. An adjustment event makes the task easy and quick. I'll first create a video track above the video events track. Before doing anything else, I need to ensure that rippling is disabled. There are three ways of inserting an adjustment event. You can select the track, go to Insert on the main toolbar, and select Adjustment Event. As you can see, the adjustment event has a brick-like pattern. This is to differentiate it from other types of event and was introduced in version 23. In versions before that, it had a diagonal lines pattern. You can also right-click on the track and choose Insert Adjustment Event. In both those cases, the adjustment event will start at the current playhead position and be of a fixed duration. This duration by default is 5 seconds, but it can be changed in the Options, Preferences, Editing tab. The third way is to create a loop region of the desired length, then right-click on the track and select Insert Adjustment Event. Note that for this method to work correctly, the loop region must be active. This is indicated by the loop duration under the events being blue. If you deactivate the loop region by left-clicking anywhere, the adjustment event will defer to the default duration starting at the playhead position. Now I'll apply the black and white effect to the adjustment event. Now every part of the video event covered by the adjustment event has been converted to black and white. To add the finishing touch, I can apply fades at either end. If I'm not happy with the result, I can move the event, shorten it, or lengthen it. I can also alter the fade length. You now see how versatile adjustment events can be. Now if I want this effect anywhere else on the timeline, I can copy and paste it in the required position and alter it accordingly. Because adjustment events are effectively like video events, as well as being able to apply video effects to them, they can also have the pan crop tool applied. Just like the video effects, the pan crop effects are then applied to the part of the video covered by the adjustment event. The pan crop sequence can then be animated in the usual way. If all the video events on the timeline are to have a certain effect applied to them, an adjustment event stretching the whole timeline can be used. Alternatively, you could use the Selectively Paste Attributes option to copy and paste the effect onto every event, but the adjustment event method is a lot quicker. Another method is to use an adjustment track, which I'll deal with in the next section. You'll find that Vegas Pro allows many tasks to be carried out in many different ways. It's a case of using the one that suits your preference at the time. Here's another way that adjustment events can be used. Normally, transitions are created by overlapping two events and applying a transition to the overlap. If for some reason I don't want to overlap the events, but still need a transition, I can use adjustment events. Here's how it works. For this method to work, I need two adjustment events. Their duration isn't critical, but their total duration must be greater or equal to the total duration of the transition. I can now split this event at the join. I now need to create a fade on each of the events. This is made easier if the events are temporarily separated. Note that it's important that the left-hand event fades out and the right-hand event fades in. I can now choose a transition from the Transitions tab. I'll use the Gradient White Nebulous preset. I'll also need to pull this down on the right-hand event. The transition works best if the left-hand event's transition goes in reverse. Here's another way that adjustment events can be used. I've placed a 2-second adjustment event above the join. I'll now apply a video effect to the adjustment event. A disadvantage of this method is that you are limited in the effects that can be used to make it effective. A good one to use is the glow effect. The first thing to do is choose a colour for the glow. I'll choose yellow, but you can experiment with different colours if yellow isn't your choice. Now I'll enable animation for the glow percent and the intensity parameters. You'll now see the keyframe controller open up. With the playhead at the start of the adjustment event, I'll make sure that the Sync Cursor to Media Timeline icon is enabled. I'll now move the playhead to the join between the two events, which should coincide with the centre of the adjustment event. At this point, I'll set the glow percent to 1 and the intensity to 2.5. Note that these values are my chosen values. You may choose to modify them to get a different result. Now I move the playhead to the end of the adjustment event and return the two parameter values to 0. I'll now play the transition. If you're confident with the keyframe controller, you can change the interpolation modes of the keyframes to obtain a different result. I covered the keyframe controller in detail in tutorials 125 and 126. As I mentioned, the choice of effects that give a reasonable result is limited. Also, the parameters must be able to be animated. Some effects that may be useful aren't capable of being animated. Here's another effect that gives a good result. Here are examples I've found that give reasonable results. Again, the advantage of using this method for transitions is that once created, the adjustment event can be copied and pasted onto joins along the timeline. The disadvantage, of course, is that you can't use the normal transitions. Adjustment tracks were introduced in version 19. And are basically special tracks that can be made to affect tracks beneath. That's a simplistic description. A very detailed description of all their capabilities is beyond the scope of this tutorial. Because of this, I'll keep it relatively basic. On the timeline, I have 4 video tracks. On each of the tracks, I have one video event. The video event's a staircase to ensure that an event doesn't block the event on the track below. I'll now create an adjustment track above the top track. There are 3 ways of creating an adjustment track. To create one above the top track, either select the top track, then click Insert and select Adjustment Track. You can also use the keystroke sequence Ctrl-Alt-Shift-Q, or right-click the top track and select Insert Adjustment Track. To insert an adjustment track above any other track, select that track and use the same commands. I can now apply the black and white effect to the adjustment track. The effect has been applied to all the tracks beneath the adjustment track. This is the default behavior, but there are things that can be done that change this default behavior. At the top of the track you will notice a blue line. This is a composite level envelope. Its colour can be changed by going to Options, Preferences, Display, and clicking the Envelope Type drop-down arrow. Select Composite Level, then click the colour swatch and select a colour. If you're unfamiliar with compositing, it's a method whereby one video event is blended with another. In this case, the video event is essentially blended with the effect applied to the adjustment track. By default, the blend is 100%, which means that the black and white effect is totally blended with the video event, resulting in pure black and white. Reducing the composite level envelope reduces the blending, so more colour shows through. Composite nodes can be applied to the envelope by double-clicking it. Select a point on the timeline where you want the effect to stop and create a node. As well as double-clicking the envelope, you can create a node by right-clicking on the envelope and selecting Add Point. Once created, the node is really difficult to see. But if you zoom into the location, you can just see a blue notch on the envelope. If you hover the mouse over this notch, it turns white and a label appears stating the time code and the composite level at that time code. Now I'll create another node just past the first one. Now I can pull this second node down to the bottom of the track. I'll now play over the transition. If I want a gradual transition, I can pull the second node further along the timeline. The node's right-click context menu gives a number of options. The Set To option allows you to change the composite value of the node without having to move it with the mouse. The interpolation modes alter the shape of the curve between the two nodes. I won't describe interpolation modes, as I give a detailed description in my tutorial 126. Please refer to this if you wish. I'll not go through the rest of these options. I suggest you try them out. To return the track effect to 100%, simply reverse the procedure at the desired timecode. Using this method, you can limit the effect to different parts of the timeline. You can also affect which tracks are affected by using a parent-child combination. However, the subject of parent-child track combinations I'll leave for another tutorial. Just a couple more things to mention. On the track header, you'll see the familiar filled circle on the FX label. This is just an indicator that one or more effects have been applied at track level. At the bottom of the coloured area, you'll see two inverted chevrons. If you click on this, the name or names of the applied effects will be shown with a keyframe at the start of the keyframe ribbon. If you double-click on the keyframe or on the label, the Video Effect UI will be displayed. Here you can keyframe the effect as you would normally. The only difference is that the keyframe controller timeline is the same duration as the project timeline. Be aware that the composite envelope and keyframe animation envelope interact with each other, so it can be quite confusing if you're animating both these together. That should give you enough information to get you started with adjustment events and adjustment tracks. Join me next time if you can. I don't know the subject yet, but I'll think of something. I'm always open to suggestions, but not colour grading. My knowledge on that subject is quite limited. There are many tutorials already available, produced by very knowledgeable people. Anyway, thanks for watching, and please consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. Until the next time, bye for now.